U.S. Special Forces have reportedly attempted many rescues over the past week to get U.S. citizens and refugees out of Afghanistan. One of their successful missions getting Afghan refugee Mohammad Khalid Wardak and his family out. Since the beginning, Khalid worked with U.S. soldiers, saving countless Americans. And joining us now to share more about this extraordinary rescue operation, former U.S. Special Forces Commander Ryan Brummond. Ryan, good morning to you.
Hey, ma'am. Good morning. Thanks for having me back.
Of course. We know you worked alongside Khalid and helped to spearhead the push to get him out. He and his family went into hiding as they waited to be rescued. Talk us through what happened.
So it kind of started when he was in Helmand Province a couple of weeks ago, and the situation started looking bad and he was wounded. He realized that as the government started to fall down south, that he and his family weren't going to be safe, certainly in Helmand. So they moved back to Kabul as quickly as they could, and they were actually fortunate to be able to get there. Once they got there, of course, the city was surrounded by Taliban, and then the city fell. So he went into hiding at that point for several days until he was able to be rescued.
And we understand he tried to go to the airport several times, but could not. What happened?
Very dangerous situation. You know, those first couple of days, just as the Taliban was moving into the city, there was chaos all over the streets. Nobody really knew what was going on. There were thousands and thousands of armed men moving through the city. And Khalid is a very recognizable figure in Afghanistan. He's been on television, years ago, calling out the Taliban, right, and asking them to actually come fight out in the open. So they all know who he is. They know what he looks like. And so it was very, very hard for him with all these checkpoints set up to try and get to the airport himself.
So how did he get out then?
So it was a huge effort between those who are in government and those who are out. We were able to get him recognized, right? And then U.S. forces were actually able to get him into a safe place.
Okay. So we won't talk about the specifics of that operation, but can you just give us a sense of what's happening specifically in Kabul right now? All we see is the airport. We can't see everything that's taking place there, obviously. What reports are you getting?
So we're getting reports in our groups from sort of all over the country, but in Kabul specifically, there's almost this strange kind of uncertain calm. I think, from what we've seen and from what we hear on our side, I think there's a recognition that the U.S. has a huge effort, and British and French and others, to try and get their people out. And so it's a very uneasy time right now. There's pockets of gunfire here and there. Nobody really knows exactly what's happening, but the Taliban are setting up control all over the city, and they're going door to door looking for people that have been enemies of their group for a long time.
Yeah, and now that Khalid and his family are out, how are they doing, and where are they?
So they are still in an undisclosed location, but they are safe. I can tell you that. As you can see there, it's still, he still needs some health care. He's still wounded. He's still struggling a little bit with his wounds from a couple of weeks ago. And there's still a little bit of uncertainty about exactly what their future looks like. But what I can tell you is that he and his 4 sons and his wife are absolutely safe and with U.S. forces at an undisclosed location.
Okay. And what's his message to the U.S. military and to Americans here in the States?
So when I spoke to him a few hours after he got out, through one of our mutual friends, and it's hard to describe the level of love and appreciation that he has for those that, quite honestly, he stood by for years and years and years, and that he fought with for years and years, for the U.S. and for his allies and for his brothers and sisters to come through for him. There was a level of gratitude that just doesn't come out well in words, but was clear to hear in his message.
Yeah, and I can tell it's still very emotional for you as well. I imagine there's still plenty of other Afghan allies, as well as, of course, U.S. citizens still trapped there. What are they going through right now at the moment?
Fear, a lot of uncertainty. There's some hope. There's a lot of confusion. I think certainly for our other U.S. allies, and as you mentioned, there are thousands of people who are in the SIV process. There are thousands of interpreters who have worked, and there are also, there are a few others like Khalid that have been longtime allies that stayed and fought to the bitter end, and it's an uncertain and dangerous time for them. And I think, seeing everything that they're seeing on the news with planes moving is like hopeful, but it's as you can see here, it's still chaotic.
Ryan, we appreciate you joining us this morning. Best of luck, to you and also to Khalid and his family. And of course, our prayers are with all the U.S. citizens and Afghan allies still trapped there in Afghanistan this morning. Thank you for joining us.
Great. Well, thanks for having me.